Welcome back to another update day in Old School, and today's is absolutely insane. We have the highly anticipated Chambers of Xeric changes. To kick things off, running back and forth from the recruitment board to start up your raid is no longer a necessary action, because a reload option has been added to the staircase. Just right click in, reload the stairs, and a fresh new layout will be generated for your raid. And then included in the recruitment board, you'll also notice a brand new UI change that allows you to scale the raid to however many people you want to put in it. Stamina potions are now a little less valuable because there are more energy pools located around the raid. I'm assuming probably one has been added in every single farming room. The growth times of Buchu, Gulper, and Nox plants have been sped up. And now if your teammate did forget their anti-poison, some of the most basic and common food and potions will now appear instantly for all account types. So if you get stuck in the middle of the Olm fight and you can't trade over the anti-poison, feel free to just drop it and it'll show up instantly. Scav Beasts now have a guaranteed drop of all of the following items, being 5 to 14 juice, 3 to 11 mushroom, and 3 to 6 Sicily. Overall, some of the numbers of these secondaries has been decreased, but now it is a guaranteed drop for every single kill rather than just being really sporadic. Oh, and then to go along with that, the planks to make the chest are now stackable, so you don't need to clear out 6 inventory slots in order to build one. There have also been further changes to the mining and woodcutting shortcuts, mostly because they were entirely avoided. Both of these skilling shortcuts have been made faster, and the points they now give has been bumped up. Now let's talk boss changes, and the first one we have is Tecton, possibly one of the most frustrating rooms for a lot of players in this raid. So here's the changes they've made. To kick things off, the first Dragon Warhammer special attack against Tecton is now a guaranteed hit. And to go along with it, he no longer regains his defense when using the anvil. They still want to make some changes to the Elder Maul in the future, so they said keep an eye out for tweaks coming to that. But overall, this should make Tecton a bit less tanky, so you don't constantly get stuck of the cycle of him healing at the anvil over and over again. Now for the Crab Puzzle Room, they've made it so that you can no longer splash. If you've done enough chambers, and potentially if you're just an absolute trash gamer like myself, on the off occasion you will try to accidentally shoot a crab using magic in full melee gear, and then accidentally jack up an entire cycle. Thankfully that's no longer possible because even with a magic bonus of -64 or lower you can no longer splash, and then to go along with that change they're also removing the attack delay. So after hitting a crab you'll be able to hit again on the very next tick, allowing you to quickly pull in different crabs or correct a mistake if you did accidentally use the wrong style. And now for Ice Demon, and this one has quite the changes. There's no longer a need to deposit your whole inventory and then have to deal with rearranging and constantly having everything in your gear switched up, because kindling is now stackable in a cap of up to 28. Not to mention the fact that also lighting the brazier and adding kindling now gives more points than it did prior. And then as a last addition to even go on top of all of that, Ice Demon's magic defense has been decreased from 60 to 40, and after finishing the kill, you will have a little buff of all 3 secondaries being dropped. Lizardmen Shamans have went unchanged, so now we jump over to Vanguards. Vanguards will still drop a guaranteed Overload Plus, but to go along with it, the Melee Vanguard will drop 2 Xeric's Aids and 1 Elder, the range will drop a Xeric's Aid, 2 Revitalize, and a Twisted, and then the Magic Vanguard will drop a Xeric's Aid, a Prayer Enhance, and 1 Kodai. Basically dropping you a few extra food that you'll probably have drank through the entire room, plus 1 overload and the ability to make another. Now for the Thieving Room, and a lockpick is now more important than ever, as you can tell by this chart. If you have 1 thieving with no lockpick, the new success rate, which has been slightly buffed for all categories, is 39.2%, while level 1 thieving with a lockpick is 60.7% success rate. Comparatively, if you had 99 thieving and no lockpick, you would have the exact same 60% chance, but if you had 99 thieving with a lockpick, you would have a 82.3% chance of success. When you do successfully open a chest, you're also guaranteed a grub as long as there's one in there and not bats or poison, and the points for each grub has been buffed up to 115 from 100. And then just like Ice Demon, you'll get a little bump of all 3 secondaries upon the room's completion. Now for Vespula. And the real way you're supposed to tackle this room is by reducing Vespula's HP, and then dealing as much damage to the portal as you can before she becomes airborne again. At the same time, then you want to prevent more soldiers from spawning and healing the Lux Grubs by using the Blossoms on them, in comparison to the current main method, which is just clicking the portal and then back and forth with a safe tile while continually praying redemption. So to counter the current method, they've made quite the few changes to Vespula. First up, the Luck Scrub HP has been increased from 100 to 125, giving you more time to heal them prior to soldiers breaking out and dealing damage. The Blossoms now heal Luck Scrubs for 35 up from 20, making it much easier to manage their HP. Both Vespula and these soldiers have had their range and melee strength slightly reduced, so you'll take less damage. And when these soldiers do spawn, they heal the portal at a reduced rate, giving you more time if you do accidentally make mistakes. But even despite all those changes, if you don't want to give up the current meta method, you do not have to, because the redemption method will still be best in slot. And it becomes slightly easier because you'll be taking slightly less damage. Not to mention, Vespula will also drop an overload after the completion of the room. Now for Vasa. The first change is Vasa's range defense has been reduced from 60 to 40, meaning that the Twisted Bow is still the best in slot, but the Blowpipe now has quite the buff, making it slightly more accurate in comparison to prior. And then to go along with that, the healing mechanic has now dramatically changed. Originally, whenever Vasa came up to the crystal, she would just constantly heal, but now it'll just start charging, indicated by a gloopy hit splat, so if you break the crystal before it's charged, all of the healing will be discarded. If you do fail to break the crystal in time though, Vasa will heal for just as much as before, so make sure you're quick on the gear switches and bring the right tools for the job. Vasa will now also drop an Overload Plus after its kill. Now for Mystics, and this one is a slightly smaller change. There's just a bunch of portals have been added around the room, basically allowing you to just teleport back and forth through it so you don't have to run around the entire maze. Next up for the Mutodi Changes. The formula for chopping the meat tree, which they have named Dimitri, has now been changed. It is your woodcutting level divided by 2 and then -2 plus or -5. Basically, if you have 99 woodcutting, your damage for chopping the tree will roll anywhere from 42 to 52. With that said, if you do opt to just freezing Mutodi rather than chopping the tree, the following changes have been made. Both Mutodis will start moving towards the tree at around 50 HP rather than 40%. And then players are now able to damage Mutodis even if they were frozen while attempting to reach the tree. So if that reads that the immune phase has been entirely removed from both Mutodis, this room becomes dramatically faster. In addition to these changes though, both Mutodis have had their max hit slightly reduced. So a one-hit 75 chomp to the forehead is no longer possible. I guess we'll have to see what the max hit is now become. And then the big Mutodi will only swap from magic to range attacks or vice versa after using the same style 3 times in a row. Now last but not least, we have the Olm fight. And for the most part, this one has went entirely unchanged outside of a couple annoying features. The first up is the Portal special attack now spawns within 10 tiles of a player in a solo encounter. Anybody who's done solo Olm not doing the 4-1 or 5-0, whatever the methods are, can get put in the absolute blender by having a portal spawn all the way in the opposite corner of a room, making it entirely impossible to reach it. And then the second change in this one does impact all groups of any sizes. The Olm's healing pool attack now has a cooldown of at least 10 attacks, so it does not become a thing where it just spams at every other attack for like 6 in a row. But with that, those are all of the Chambers of Xeric changes you need to know. Absolutely a massive overhaul with today's update, so I can't wait to see what these changes look like in-game. I'll be very interested to see how this ultimately impacts some of the prices of these items. If you guys did enjoy or found the video helpful, consider dropping a like, and I'll catch you in the next one.